Do you know the ancient path? Are you standing in the ancient way? The way. Come on, let's talk about it. Shalom, my friends. Jeremiah, that's Yirmiyahu, chapter 6, verse 16. Thus said Yahweh, stand in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths where the good way is, and walk in it, and find rest for yourselves. You know, it's all about Kadam, back to the beginning. It's all about the fact that Elohim is the same yesterday, today, tomorrow, forever. He will forever be the same as he was in the beginning. That's what I love about these odiot, my friends. Going back to the beginning, the way he presented it before man started messing around. You know, even if you get to the ancient Paleo Aramaic Hebrew, that was popular around the time that Moses received the 10 Commandments. If you just take a look at Gimel, the third oat, it's a picture of a foot. You look at that in the Paleo Hebrew and it's upside down. Why is the guy's foot up in the air? Why would they do that? At any rate, here in Yirmiyahu, commonly known as Jeremiah, Yahweh is saying, stand in the ways. We're gonna take a look at that word, stand, and ask for the ancient paths, or old paths. We're going to look at old, ancient. We're going to look at paths. And, he tells us that's where the good way is. Really, that's where the way is found. And walk in it. And find rest for yourselves. We're going to look at the word rest. But if you look a little bit before this to see what's going on, just back up to verse 13. And it says, the least of them, even to the greatest of them, they are all greedy for gain. And from the Navi, the prophets, or the prophet, even to the Cohen, the priest, all act falsely. And they heal the breach of my people slightly, saying, peace, peace, when there is no peace. Were they ashamed when they had done abomination? No, they were not at all ashamed, nor did they know how to blush. Therefore they shall fall among those who fall. They shall stumble at the time I visit them, said Yahweh. He's talking about people, they do things that are an abomination to the Father, and they don't even know how to blush about it. They're not aware of it at all. And look at what's going on today. The popularity in the media for The Walking Dead, vampirism, I could go on and on, I won't, But, you know, the young people today, they think that Walking Dead stuff is really cool. How can you do that? How can you look at that stuff and not be ashamed, or not even know how to blush? That's what Yahweh is talking about. And therefore, he says, stand in the ways and see. You stand in the way and your eyes are opened. You will see. Ask for the ancient paths where the good way is and walk in it and find rest for yourselves. We're going to look at that, but I want to point out too, I've said it before and I'll say it again, these pictograph audio, the more we learn their messages, the more we begin to adopt and to have the mind of Yeshua, the mind of Mashiach, because, you know, I imagine many of you who've been digging in with me all along with this, these past couple of months, you're starting to see it. It starts developing a new way of thinking, and it's what I love about it. So let's take a look at the audio for the word stand. Take a look at this, where Yahweh says, stand in the ways and see. The word for stand here is amad. It's ayin, mem, dalet. Got your copy? If we take a look at ayin, we can see it's a picture of an eye. Has to do with spiritual sight and vision. It means to watch and to know. It's a matter of the Word and His Ruach converging in your soul. That's ayin. On the other side, we have dalet, the door. Yeshua is the door. It has to do with movement, back and forth, in and out of the door. Sometimes it has to do with dangling, weakness, the hanging of your head. And it has to do with the 4 dimensions of space and time. And then, in the middle, the heart of the word, we have mem. Mem is the picture of water. Water is the word. The word washes us clean. It represents blood, the blood that purchased us and saves us. But here, we're looking at spiritual sight and vision to watch. We're being told to stand. We're looking at the door, the 4 dimensions of space and time. And Yeshua being the door. The heart of the word is the word, Yeshua. To stand. Yeshua tells us time and time again in his parables, and talks about his returning, about the Netchatef. He always says, watch, be watchful. That's the key here, where Yahweh says, stand in the ways and see. Be watchful. Open up your spiritual eyes and your vision. Stand in the door and be washed by the word. And he says, you know, this opens your eyes for you to stand. Here's another scripture. In Romans, I don't remember exactly the address, where the Ruach says, stand. And after you've done everything, stand. Be firm. Pitch your tent with Yahweh, with Elohim. Secure your tent with Him. Stand. Be steadfast. Then he says, and ask. Ask for the old paths. Ask for the ancient paths. Take a look at this one. Here's the word for old or ancient. It's olam. Ayin, lamed, mem. There's a great similarity between this and stand. We have ayin and mem again, but this time the heart of the word is lamed. I want to say I love lamed, but be silly because I love every one of these odiot. Lamed is the picture of the shepherd's staff. Points at leading and teaching, protecting, steering. And like Aleph, the picture of the ox head, which has to do with being yoked. Lamed also has to do with being yoked, discipleship. Talmidim is the word for disciples. But here we're looking at Ayin and Mem on the outsides. To watch, open up your eyes, be washed by His word, and to teach Elohim's Torah, His Torot, to teach His word, and also to learn it, to guide those who are under you by His word, and to be guided by His word. That is the ancient way. Man, I'm finding that, the study with these odiot returns me to Him in ways I've never known before. Let's take a look at the next slide, which is the word for paths. We're talking about the ancient paths. Yahweh says, stand in the ways and see. Ask for the old paths where the good way is. So we've looked at old. It has to do with being watchful. It has to do with His word, Yeshua. And it has to do with learning and teaching His word. Get in His word. And there's no greater way to get into His word than these odiot. Again, I just keep coming back to that because I'm reminded that the word originally, there were no chapter numbers, there were no verse numbers, there aren't even any spaces between words. It's just a stream of odiot, a stream of letters from beginning to end, no spaces. And that has got me thinking how, I've always heard and I've always known that we will learn from His word for all of eternity. And, years ago I used to think, geez, can you imagine how familiar you get with the word after, centuries of reading it? How just getting more revelation, I guess? No, if you consider that the word is originally written not with words so much as with odiot. There's no spaces. It's just one ot after the other. And you see how we look at these odiot when we put them together and we look at them, the revelation that comes. You can read it, left to right, right to left, read the outside letters, then look at the heart. And you keep getting the same message in different ways. If we looked at His word, instead of reading, in the beginning, if we just looked at the odiot, now I can see how we can keep learning for all of eternity from it. And, they say when Yeshua comes, He's not only going to explain and teach every jot and tittle of each odiot, but the spaces between them, We have to remember that right now we think in, 3 or 4 dimensions. It's not going to be that way in eternity. Anyway, let's look at The word for paths is natib. It's nun, tau, yod, beit. So here we see the oat, nun. That's the seed, unstoppable motion. The heirs of Yeshua, because we're talking about the ancient paths. We are talking about the good seed. Over on the other side, Beit, the house, pitching your tent with Him. We come in, we have Tau. That's the mark. He puts His mark on you. Those who receive His indwelling Ruach, they receive His mark on their foreheads. And Yod, it's the arm and the hand, has to do with your actions. The old paths, Olam Natib. You're watchful. Your eyes are being opened by His Word, by you learning His Word and teaching His Word, Olam. Then we go to Natib, and it's like, it's pointing about there are those who have the good seed in them. It is unstoppable. It grows in them no matter what, because they are pitching their tent with Elohim. They have His mark on them, and their actions show it and reveal it and speak of it. Finally, He says, ask for the ancient paths, ask for the old paths, and that's where the good way is, and walk in it, and find rest for yourselves. So finally, for the word rest, we have margoa, and that is mem, resh, gimel, wa, ayin. We have 5 odiot here. Mem, the water, the word. Ayin, being watchful, having your eyes opened by His Word. Why is that happening? Resh and wa. We have, who's your headship? And who are you pitching your tent with? You have to remember too, my friends, when we do this, there's always 2 ways of looking at a word study. One being in the light, one being in the darkness. For example, here with margoa, rest, this word margoa could be used for a great unrest as well, because if someone is not being watered by the Word, if they are not being watchful, their eyes are not being opened, their spiritual eyes are not being opened, because their headship, what they think about all the time is the world or the self, and who are they pitching their tent with? They could be pitching their tent with the world or with darkness. And then the heart of the word here is gimel, the foot, that's your walk. Their walk is full of darkness. On the other hand, you have the opposite way of seeing this word, where it does indeed speak of us entering His rest. Mem and ayin, we're being watered by His word. Our spiritual eyes are being opened, and we are watchful. Our headship is Elohim, and we are pitching our tent with Elohim, and therefore our walk is on the ancient paths. We are walking in the way, His way, not our way. And that's where we receive His rest. Look at Matthew chapter 11, verse 27. All have been handed over to me by my Father. Yeshua is speaking. And no one knows the bane, that's Yeshua, except the Father. Nor does anyone know the Father except the bane, and he to whom the bane wants to reveal him. Come to me, Yeshua says, all you who labor and are burdened, and I shall give you rest. Margoah. You'll be washed by the word. Your eyes, spiritual eyes, will be opened. He will be your headship, and your thoughts will be his thoughts. You'll be thinking about him all the time. You'll be pitching your tent with him fervently, and your walk will be in the way. Hebrews, that's Ivrim, chapter 4. Therefore, since a promise remains of entering into his rest, let us fear lest any of you seem to have come short of it. For indeed the good news was brought to us as well as to them, but the word which they heard did not profit them, not having been mixed with belief in those who heard it. For we who have believed do enter into that rest, as he has said, quote, as I swore in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest. And yet his works have come into being from the foundation of the world, Kadam, the beginning. For somewhere he has said thus about the seventh day, quote, and Elohim rested on the seventh day from all his works. And in this again, if they shall enter into my rest, since then it remains for some to enter into it. And those who formerly received the good news did not enter in because of disobedience, he again defines a certain day, quote, today, close quote, saying through David, so much later as it has been said, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. For if Joshua established them in rest, he would not have spoken of another day after that. So there remains a Shabbat keeping for the people of Elohim, for the one having entered into his rest has himself also rested from his works as Elohim from his own. Let us therefore do our utmost to enter into that rest, lest anyone fall after the same example of disobedience. For the word of Yahweh is living and working, and sharper than any two-edged sword, cutting through even the dividing of being and spirit, and of joints and marrow, and able to judge the thoughts and intentions of the heart. And there is no creature hidden from his sight, but all are naked and laid bare before the eyes of him with whom is our account. Therefore, since we have a great Kohen Hagadol, Yeshua, who has passed through the Shamayim, Yeshua, the bane of Yahweh, let us hold fast our confession, for we do not have a Kohen Hagadol unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who is tried in all respects as we are, apart from sin. Therefore, let us come boldly to the throne of favor in order to receive compassion and find favor for timely help. Do you want to enter into his rest? Ask for the old paths. Oh, Abba, Father, we pray and we ask you to reveal the ancient paths to us. Reveal the way to us. Yeshua is the way. Father, teach us how to pitch our tent with you. In Yeshua's Kodesh name we pray, Yahweh, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh Echad. I hope this week's study has been a berekah to you, my friends. See you next time. Shalom.
could say a prayer, but it wouldn't make any difference. Yeah, 'cause I could tell the truth, and you wouldn't believe. I'm standing here shining this light when you close